Not asking for help isn't strength. It's what happens when depending on someone once costs you more than doing it alone ever did. And the reason you can't just decide to let people in, even when you're exhausted from carrying everything, is because your nervous system learned something so early and so clearly that it still treats needing people to as a risk of not worth taking. That's not independence, that's protection, and it made sense once where that protection came from and why it keeps running, even in relationship where it's actually safe to need people. That's what we are covering. But first, you need to understand what your nervous system was actually solving for. When it decided doing everything alone was safer than asking, because it wasn't solving for independence, it was solving for survival. Psychologist John Bowlby spent decades building what became attachment theory. The finding was simple: children don't become independent because independence is a personality trait. They become independent because their attempts to depend on someone didn't work the way they needed. Here's how to check this on yourself right now. Think about the first time you genuinely need someone and they weren't there. Not dramatically, just not there. Busy, dismissive, unreliable. What did you decide after that? Because whatever you decided, nervous system has been running that decision ever since. Here's what that decision is actually costing you right now. The burnout you push through alone because asking feels worse than exhaustion. The problem you've been circling for weeks that someone else could solve in an hour. If you just say something. The relationship where people keep their distance not because they don't care, but because you made it clear you don't need anything from them. And underneath all of it, the quiet exhaustion of being the only person you trust to get anything done right. And here's what makes this so hard to change just by deciding to open up more. The resistance to asking isn't a habit you've developed, it's a threat response that still believes needs equal danger. And threat responses don't turn off because you logically understand the threat isn't real anymore. They turn off when they get new evidence. When the last time you asked for help with something that actually mattered, just the time frame, days, months, years, drop it below. Here's why hyper independence gets harder to break over time. Every time you handle something alone, your nervous system loves it. We didn't need anyone, it worked. The independence was right, which makes the next ask feel more dangerous, not less. And over time, the circle of what you let people help with keeps getting smaller until you are managing everything alone and calling it strength. Because letting someone in and having them fail you again still feels like the more dangerous option. Here's the thing about always doing it alone that nobody says out loud. The people in your life who want to help and you keep pushing away, they don't experience that as a strength. They experience it as a distance, as a wall they can't get through, as a proof that you don't trust them. And eventually they stop trying, not because they just stop caring, because you told them that needing you is a one-way street. And the loneliness that creates you probably started to mistake for proof that people can't be relied on. Why the evidence never updates, and the one move that actually starts to break the pattern. Here's the complete answer to what's of protection and not personality. Researcher Brené at the University of Houston spent years studying what actually creates connection. Her finding, the people with the stronger sense of connection aren't the ones who need the least. They are the ones most willing to be honest about what they need. Hyper independence doesn't create connection, it prevents it. Because real connection requires letting someone actually do something for you. And if you never let anyone help you, never give anyone the chance to show up for you. Which means every belief you have that people can't be trusted never gets challenged. The evidence never updates, the protection never relaxes. And you stay alone not because people fail you, but because you never gave them the chance not to. Think about what always doing it alone has actually cost you in a relationship. The people who tried to be there and eventually stopped, not because they didn't care, because you made caring feel pointless. The version of closeness where someone knows what you're actually carrying and chooses to stay anyway. You probably never let that happen, not because it wasn't possible, because letting it happen felt like the most dangerous thing you could do. 3 things that actually starts to break this. 1. Ask for help with something small this week, not something that matters, something low stakes. Let your nervous system find out that needing something from someone doesn't automatically end in disappointment. That's the only evidence it will believe. 2. Notice the difference between not needing help and not asking for it. They feel identical from inside, they are not. One is capability, one is protection. Only one of them is actually about strength. 3. When someone offers to help, say yes once before you say you are fine. Just once. Your nervous system has been predicting the outcome without ever running the experiment. It's time to test the prediction. You are not independent because independence is who you are. You are independent because at some point, needing people and having them not show up hurt more than doing it alone ever could. It made sense then. It's just not the same situation anymore. You didn't learn to do everything alone because you were strong. You learned it because needing people once felt like the most dangerous thing you could do. And if you want more videos that go underneath the strength to what actually built it, subscribe. That's all this channel does.